So we've got reduced income at the same time as increased demand. So what we've done is had to look how we can balance that. So I'm afraid it's those other things like highways and the non-statutory services which will suffer. That would be the worst case scenario. We're nothing like in the same situation as, say, Northamptonshire or other councils, but I have made it clear in public to ministers, look, you've got to sort this out, because all councils, like the county councils, will all be in trouble in 2 years' time. My view is, having had the referendum, that we really need to enact the result of that referendum. But I think the trick is, which we don't seem to have achieved yet, is to, yes, respect the result of the referendum and basically leave the EU, but at the same time have a very positive relationship with them so we can still trade. Personally, I'm not sure about the withdrawal agreement as it stands, because it does apparently lock us into, if it wasn't for locking us into permanent sort of being in under the remit of the EU, if you put it like that, I think that is the problem with that. So I think that was to go, I think that would be all right. If it wasn't for this so-called Northern Ireland issue, I think lots of options could be on the table, but that they seem to have got very hung up on that. I think the ways of working in the NHS probably haven't caught up with the changes. So I think the hospital, you know, that we know they're in difficulty, they're going to about to recruit a new chief executive. So I think they've done best they can. I think we all accept they could do better. I also think that there is clearly a relationship we need to have with the NHS, because we're actually both dealing with care. We deal with social care, they deal with acute care, and we're both dealing with the same people effectively. So I think one of the issues we are talking to the NHS is how we can work together. The ambulance service is good, because obviously we know they've had extra money. We've just set up this joint falls service, which we launched about a month ago, and so with EMAS having all this extra money, it should mean there will mean there are going to be a lot more ambulances. I think about 40 is being mooted and about 80 extra staff. So I'm confident that if you reconfigure the NHS, because we all want to go to the centre of excellence, we don't want to go to the local hospital which hasn't got the expertise, you do need a mechanism whereby people are actually carted around safely and quickly. If the MOD do leave Scampton, and I think that's a bit of a question mark still on that, we have a positive future for the site. We'd like to lobby and campaign for the Yarrows to stay in the county. If they do finally decide to leave, what's the future of this? It's a massive site, so what do we have there? Do we have some more houses? Do we have an industry or whatever? So I think we're having a sensible conversation. So what we don't want is for the MOD just to sell it to the highest bidder and then walk away, and we've had problems elsewhere in the county where that has happened, and it's really not. So a planned withdrawal would be better. I've nothing much to add to the statement I've already made, which was there was a difference of opinion between the council and Keith, and acting on behalf of the council I then signed an agreement with Keith that we basically differed on the best way forward. We're going to take a pause before we decide what to do about whether and when to recruit a new chief executive. In the meantime, we have also had a successful recruitment exercise because we've had retirements and etc. So there'll be 3 new directors who will start March time, so that in effect we'll have 5 directors. Devolution is still very much there, and we are currently talking both with our district council colleagues to look at how we can get some devolution off government, and also something called the Regional Alliance, where coming together with the councils in Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, Leicestershire and ourselves, how we can actually have some devolution from the government for things like infrastructure and skills. Well, I think the first thing is we talked about the funding, so we're very waiting with bated breath to see what we're actually going to get. We won't finish Lincoln Eastern Bypass next year, same with Grantham Bypass. Again, work out the heritage offer. I think those are the main keystones. Obviously we wait to see what happens with Brexit and whether that will affect us or not, and whether we can get this these strategic alliance bid or these devolution bids off the ground, I think, are the important things. But at the same time, of course, continue to deliver good services to the public of Lincolnshire.